It's not human. The mysterious journey of Braniff International Airways Flight 326, a routine flight that never arrived on the morning of March 22, 1963, at exactly 9:50 a.m., Braniff International Airways Flight 326 takeoff from Idlewild Airport, now John F. Kennedy Airport, in New York, bound for Michigan. It was supposed to be a routine flight with passengers and crew on board, but as it neared Michigan, something unimaginable occurred. The flight never reached its destination, vanished from radar, and left behind a mystery that remained unsolved for 6 decades. The flight begins smoothly. Everything seemed normal. The pilots, first officer, and crew were busy attending to the passengers. The air hostesses began serving meals and drinks, ensuring a comfortable flight. However, shortly after takeoff, air hostess Lucille noticed something strange. The temperature inside the plane dropped unexpectedly, and an eerie silence filled the cabin. The passengers, who were previously engaged in conversations and laughter, suddenly fell silent, as if an unseen presence had settled among them. Lucille glanced around nervously. The overhead lights flickered for a brief moment, sending a chill down her spine. She turned to her fellow air hostess, Martha, who was setting up meal trays. "Did you feel that?" she whispered. Martha nodded. "Why is it suddenly so cold?" "And? I feel like someone is watching us." Whispering voices and unseen footsteps. Passengers began shifting uneasily in their seats. Some claimed to hear whispers, soft but distinct, as if someone unseen was speaking to them. In the cockpit, Captain Richardson attempted to contact the control tower, but the signal kept cutting off. "New York Control, this is Flight 326. We are experiencing an unusual situation." The transmission abruptly ended. The co-pilot checked the instruments, which appeared normal, yet an unsettling sense of dread loomed over them. The whispers grew clearer. A woman in first class gasped, "Who said that?" Her husband frowned. "Said what?" Someone whispered in my ear. "You shouldn't be here." Meanwhile, Martha let out a sharp cry. The silverware on the meal tray began trembling on its own, and deep indentations appeared on an empty seat, as if someone invisible had just sat down. The disappearance of an air hostess. Tension spread among the passengers. Meanwhile, Lucille, who had gone to the back of the plane to fetch a blanket, never returned. Martha called out for her. No response? The crew searched for her, but she was nowhere to be found. Her trolley stood abandoned, with a steaming cup of coffee still placed on top. The bathroom door was shut from the inside. "Lucille?" Martha knocked firmly. "Are you in there?" Silence. Then, a faint whisper, "Help me." Martha's heart pounded. She twisted the doorknob. The door creaked open, but the restroom was empty. Lucille had vanished. Dark shadows and an unseen force. Several passengers claimed they saw a dark shadow moving through the cabin, but when they turned to look, there was nothing there. A businessman sitting by the window screamed. Someone grabbed my wrist. His face turned pale, yet the seat beside him was empty. Faint, frostbitten handprints appeared on his skin. Then came the scratches. A woman rolled up her sleeve to reveal 3 deep, claw marks. "Something scratched me," she cried in terror. Another man clutched his throat as if unseen hands were choking him. The lights flickered rapidly, and the emergency exit door began to rattle, as if something outside was trying to force it open. Rising fear and the shadow of death, the captain announced that all passengers should remain seated, but panic escalated. Suddenly, all the lights inside the aircraft shut off, plunging the flight into complete darkness. Moments later, A chilling voice echoed over the intercom, "This plane will never reach its destination. We will all remain here forever." Passengers screamed. The crew struggled to regain control, but the aircraft now seemed to be moving toward an unknown direction. The instruments went haywire, and outside the windows, there was nothing but endless blackness, no stars, no moon, just an infinite void. The final contact with the control tower tracked Flight 326 on their radar for the last time before it abruptly vanished. No distress signal was received, no wreckage was found, only a lost flight that never arrived at its destination. Trapped in the unknown void, time seemed to behave differently for those inside the aircraft. Some passengers peered out the windows and realized they were no longer flying over the sky but drifting through a vast, dark void where no light existed. A shocking return in 2025. On March 10, 2025, a modern airline's radar unexpectedly detected a signal from Flight 326. The control room staff were left in shock. How could a flight that had disappeared 62 years ago suddenly reappear? A pilot spotted an old aircraft floating among the clouds, and through one of its windows, he saw a terrified air hostess, the same one who had vanished in 1963. When control tower officials listened to the sounds coming from inside the plane, they were left speechless. The passengers of 1963 were still there, looking exactly as they did 6 decades ago, untouched.